So you want to improve your communication skills, but you don't know how. That's very understandable because without a reference, transformation cannot occur. So before we get into today's video, let's define who a good communicator is. So what characteristics do you see in a person before you say, yep, this guy is a good communicator? The first is he's a clear and concise speaker. So but professors too are clear and concise. Why don't you want to emulate their style of speaking? It's because their style is complex, there are too many vocabularies, the phrases, the words are 11 to 15 phrases long, making their sentences obnoxious. So they speak just to portray themselves as an intellectual or as an sophisticated person. So that's not the kind of communication style you want to emulate, obviously. So to be clear and concise, you have to start reading. Reading not only makes you clear and concise, but it gives you context as to what you want to say. Like for instance, you could be the most articulate person on earth, but if you have no idea of what you want to say, then you would stutter. It is inevitable. So in order to get context of anything you want to say, in order to know your stuff, as well as get vocabularies, rich vocabularies, you have to read. You see, one time before I discovered reading, I used to go to the dictionary and I'll learn like 2 to 3 words a day. I ended up sounding like this. I defer to my natural habitat to flourish my eloquence. You know, that kind of college professor vibes, which isn't what I wanted, by the way. So when you read, it helps give you context as to what you're saying, and it helps you to marshalize your sentences so you can see how to phrase sentences and use simple words to explain advanced topics. That's one attribute of a good communicator. If you say I feel bad, that sounds like something a kid would say. But if you're like I'm upset or I feel livid, so those are rich communication in order to explain yourself better without sounding too advanced. Yeah, so learn how to use good words, learn how to use simple words to explain advanced topics. So that's the first one. So read first to give you context, and secondly to give you rich vocabulary. If you've gotten up onto this point, I'm sure your question would be, what kind of books do I read? Well, it depends the stage you are in life, because at this stage currently I'm reading business books because I'm trying to scale a business. So I'm reading business books and all other history, biographies of great innovators. So it depends on the stage you are currently in life. But if you're a beginner, you just want to get into reading, I recommend you start reading books that has to do with your mind, that has to challenge wrong status quo and give you a superior parameters on how you judge your life. Your mind is very important. Your mind is very important. I've gone into depth of explanation on why your mind is very important. You can check out my other videos. So yeah, your mind is very important. So if the kind of books I recommend now is As a Man Thinketh. So that book is important if you're just beginning in your journey of personal development and you want something that stimulates your mind in a very positive manner. That's a good read. The second is you have to slow down. Slow down when you what's my body itching? You have to slow down. Slow down when you speak. So instead of trying to slow down, pronounce your word deliberately. So slowing down is a byproduct of pronouncing your word intentionally. Instead of saying the bottle of champagne is cold, slow down and say the bottle of champagne is cold. So it helps gives you clarity and the kind of aura that surrounds your communication. You're not in a rush to speak. That is how the aristocrats in the early 1600s of Florentina, that is how they communicate. So you can distinguish a peasant from an aristocrat with their style of communication. The aristocrats are not usually in a rush to communicate because there are royalty, while the peasants are very terrified of wasting their master's time. That's why they have to, bow their head, shuffle, and communicate immediately, as to not waste their master's time or the hierarchy in front of them. So in today's day and age, there's no really master peasant relationship, but we still have that innate desire, innate instinct to distinguish people from royalty from peasants. So if you adopt that style of communication, you would appear as royalty. So you slow down, you pause. So you pause. Pause is the third one. Pausing is very important in your speaking because it signals confidence. You're not terrified of silence, because people are very scared of silence. They see it as wasting the other person's time, which goes back to our theory on kings and peasants. So they are quick to use any kind of word. That's why they use filler words to, fill in the silence. So they'll rather entertain you with any other sound than to remain silent. So it goes back to our peasant analogy. Just pause. Give yourself time to recollect. Give yourself time to mash your thoughts together. Use stuttering, using the and all these filler words is your brain signaling to your mouth that your mouth is moving faster than your brain. So you have to calm down and pronounce your words intentionally, and as well as pause to recollect your thoughts. Sometimes you have to do the dramatic pause in order to give life to what you're saying. You see how I've been pausing, not because I'm trying to emphasize that point, it's because I practice what I preach, as well as it gives me time to, recollect my thoughts and show you how this works. I'm not terrified that the conversation is going to be guided out of me, which is what most of you are. Most of you fear. So the conversation is never going to be guided out of you when you pause. Oh, it's kind of hot in here. So when you pause, the conversation is never going to be guided out of you. It signals confidence. Yeah, with these 3 simple steps, I believe you would improve your communication. And people don't understand the ripple effect a small change can cause in your life. Something as simple as changing the way you speak would attract a better partner. Attracting a better partner means producing a whole set of children that would never have existed if you were that kind of person. Perhaps you get a raise in your job. A raise in your job means you can now position yourself in a place that you attract like-minded people. Like-minded people bring joy and prosperity to your life. You see how this small tweak can cause a ripple effect across everything and change the whole trajectory of your life. So I recommend you guys take these steps seriously and implement it in your life. So as always, my friends, I believe this video is value packed and you value it as well. I'll see you in the next one.